So guys, in this video, I do have to do the voiceover because, well, some idiot left the audio going on the trailer. But basically what we're going to be doing, guys, we're going to be breaking down basically the interior of the Idris. Well, at least the plan, or Deck B. Now, big shout out to Tactical Ferrets, who, by the way, just got a shout out by Board Gamer. Well done, son. Who actually found this information and found the video. And we're basically going to sit there, we're going to talk about everything that we see, we're going to break it all down, and then we're going to go through and basically do a little bit of theory crafting and let you guys know what we think is basically going to be what is needed to bring the Idris and like ships in the game. So first thing is obviously we go through and we explore the video, we break it all down, report on what we see, and then we do theory crafting as to say, like, this is the stuff that we need, this is what we need to be brought into the game before we can have the Idris and stuff like that. So guys, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. And I apologize for the voiceover. Like I said, the trailer was running and the audio, and it just basically killed the audio. So let's jump into it. So we actually have the video. It's from a Russian YouTuber. His YouTube channel is still up. The video is still up. It is actually Jam TV. So please go and feel free to give him a like and a follow. There you go. I'll give him a like. I presume there's no problems with us showing this because, well, the video's still up and it has been for 16 hours. So I presume we're okay to show this. But let's go through and while we're going through it, we'll talk in ferrets and yeah. I have muted it because obviously they're going to be speaking Russian, and I don't speak Russian.
I could argue that they're speaking Ukrainian, so.
Alright, so they've gone through and they've done the whole 890 jump to get aboard the Idris, yeah. Which has been done many a times before. And yet they've basically done the whole 890 jump high seas and then glitched into the cockpit. Gotcha. And they've taken it over. Right. And right. So now they're aboard the Idris. Sorry about that. We tried to be a little professional here, but it doesn't always work. By the way, did you see the video where someone one-shots an 890 jump with an Idris?
Yeah, it's a size 10 railgun. It's gonna one-shot a lot of things.
It one-shot it in half. Like, it literally split the ship in half.
Yeah, because the 890 has no armor.
Well, yeah. Size 10 barrel cannon too, you know. Can we just get to the part where you're just showing us the interiors? Right, here we go. Okay. So
No.
we are walking around now. So basically we're starting at about 19 minutes 50. Yeah. So here's the interior of it. First thing obviously that we're seeing here is like escape pods and like an airlock chamber and stuff like that. That is pretty cool. Looks like there's still a little bit of stuff that needs to be done with the roof. Looks like there's still some shaders and stuff that need to be loaded in and stuff. And then obviously we've come out to the hallway. So doesn't look like those hatches are opening on the power. Yeah. So the hatches are there, but it looks like the buttons have been disabled. or not put in yet. Oh, it's got control panels on the wall. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on the control panels? A little bit analog? Yeah.
They could be there for resource management.
Well, actually, what I was also thinking was it's also English could also be them going through and doing things like security. So, like for example, maybe you get a PIN code to access certain areas to this. So like for example, to get into this room here, you might get a PIN code of 1953, for example, and that'll come up in your Moby Glass. And then you'd go up and type 1953 and it unlocks the area. So it could be as simple as that, too.
Maybe, yeah.
Then obviously we've got the med bay, medical room. So it's got like a recovery room and also a healing room. And looks like there's a cabinet that's in the wall. I have no idea what's going on with that. And then obviously the recovery bays have, 1, 2, 3, 4, say 4 beds. Seems one of the beds is missing. 2 of the beds are missing. And also you see here behind the counter, it looks like some of the stuff is not in. It's just pretty bare bones when it comes to the counter. I'm at 2135 by the way. 37. The counter is sort of looking like it's a bit bare bones, like there's not a lot of clutter or anything on it. Looks like it's just been incorporated. Obviously the healing chamber, which I must admit is different than what we have at the moment. So is this old tech? Is this new tech? Is the stuff that we've got in the ships newer?
These are all excellent questions.
I'll tell you what, I will say that they have done a fantastic job with this ship already. I like it.
And it's only a part of the B deck.
Yeah. Well, you can see why it takes them so long to get this stuff done.
I know, but still, I freaking want the freaking ship, though.
I get it. Missile room? Can we go in there? No. He's tried to glitch through the wall and can't see anything in there. The lights are off.
Because I don't think that room actually exists.
Alright, what have we got there? What's that red door? Is that like a turret or airlock? Maybe airlock?
I think the red door is could be a airlock, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's an airlock, but it goes up to the roof.
Idris does have a multiple ways in, so.
So just on that, guys, obviously here you see him look up and the airlock is above you. That means you're going to be able to turn gravity off in the ship. At least in this section. How else are you going to get upstairs? Unless the ladder comes down, chances are it's going to be a case of there's the airlock, you're going to turn the gravity off, and then you're going to be able to float up with your jets or your thrusters. You're not obviously going to be able to jump it. It's too high. So it looks like it's going to be A, ladder, but B, I think it's a case of you turn the gravity off and you float up to get outside. I'm trying to see if there's any sort of control panel. There looks like there. There looks like there's a control panel on the wall. So it's on the right when you walk in. So you've got the compartment there on your left. You got the airlocks, and then on the very right there. That looks like it's a screen, which will probably be for engineering for like turning on and off the airlocks, pressure, air, stuff like that. Because you're going to have like full room control over this particular room. So you'll have to be able to control the airflow, compressurization, depressurization, pressurization, sorry, and gravity on and off. More control panels. Oh, captain's quarters. Captain's quarters goes into a corridor?
I think the captain's quarters is much larger than a lot of people expect it to be.
So you think it might be a corridor that go into the quarters?
If I'm not mistaken, but I probably could be. I think the captain's quarters also acts as the XO's quarters.
So it's a corridor with well. 2 or 3 quarters on it then?
I think so, yeah.
Makes sense. That's how ships normally are. You do see, it says water closet, bed, and something else under the name, captain's quarters. It has the logos. So WC is water closet, bed is obviously for quarters, and there's another logo. So it could be like even a briefing room or a meeting room or an exo's room or something like that.
A pleasure room.
So that door is locked, but you can see behind it. So the rest of the ship could be there.
Maybe, but CIG doesn't want to tell us the naughty secrets.
Also, keep in mind too, just because they've put this stuff in the game doesn't necessarily mean that the files aren't sitting offline.
True.
So, like, for example, like with the website that I'm building, right? There's the public build, which you guys have access to. And then there's the one that I'm working on my own remote computer. And there's a big difference sometimes between the builds, which is why the build on the website went from, like, 2.8 to 3. So there's the captain's quarters there. So it looks like they've gone around, or they went through that. Where'd they go? So there's the red door. They go down the hallway. No, they don't. They go, alright, yeah, they go around. Okay. And then they go into the captain's quarters. Gotcha. So it looks like there's a split off here. Goes left and right.
So if you want, I could send you the can send you the layout for
yeah, sure, yeah.
The Idris.
Yeah, we might be able to put it on the screen down the bottom or something.
I hope I'm not sending you porn. Oh, no, it's the right one. Never mind. So, according to the layout, it just looks like we have access to like almost front the front half of a B deck.
Yeah. We know it's
And
definitely B deck, but yeah.
B deck is like mid deck, so
Looks like there was an
there's
engineering panel back there as well, guys.
there's a lot of pictures on here for the Idris.
I got a water closet. Still no reflections in the mirrors, but you know.
Maybe one day we might get there.
Yeah, so what it looks like is it looks like they've just put in some of the decks. Now, the big question I have is why they've put some of them in and not the others. Is it a case of the other areas aren't done? Or is it the case of there's something coming up, like we keep hearing about another event where maybe we have to storm the Idris, maybe?
So the question is this:
Mm.
do you want the huge photo dump that I want to drop that has all of the pictures of the like Idris that we have?
They're the 15 or so photos that you were saving to Discord or you put up into Discord?
Well, these aren't. Oh, well, I mean, these aren't like taken from in game, but these are of the like Idris.
So someone
Like,
actually went through and imported the Idris into like a Blender sort of thing, but years ago, didn't they? And went through and did a full tour.
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna mass dump all these
Yeah, knock
pictures.
yourself out. I don't care what people post in the Discord.
Can I do more than 10? No. Can only do 10 at a time.
So, okay, that's what we've seen of the Idris literally in game. Like I say, there was that guy that went through years ago and actually did a imported the asset and actually went through and actually put it into like CryEngine or Blender or something like that, and actually did a full tour. And I believe most of the Idris was actually done at that point. So what I think we've got here is them importing certain areas that are just needed for maybe an event or something like that. Maybe an upcoming event or something like that. Maybe there's like a tour or something where they give like a tour of like the B deck for the Idris or something coming up. Who knows? But obviously, sorry.
You well, I was gonna say you want to know what I think.
Sure, knock yourself out.
I think CIG is going to be showing off something that requires the interior of the like Idris for a CitizenCon.
Maybe.
And I think what they're doing is they're going to slowly that in the sections that they don't need, and just see how it's going to perform on the live servers.
Yeah. Well, look, to be honest, okay, so here's the thing, right? Everybody goes on about, like, like how it's going to perform on live servers and stuff like that, right? But here's the thing. There's not much size difference. There's a little bit, but not a lot. Not much size difference between an Idris and also an 890 jump.
True.
So we already know how it's going to perform with the 890 jump. We can use that as a base mark. So I'm not thinking they're too worried about, like, I'm going to put that little down the bottom. I don't think they're worried too much about performance because they already know how it sort of goes. I think what they're mostly doing at the moment is like you say, it might be something like, for example, an event, like, for example, Fleet Week or something like that. Maybe they're going to give it to us in drips and drabs and be like, like, hey, we've opened up B deck. So obviously, guys, with this image, what we're seeing on screen here is we obviously have the escape pods, which is the area that we've seen. We then went through to the med bay, and then we couldn't get into the missile room, but then we went down to the captain's quarters, and you can see Ferrets is right here where it says the captain's quarters and XO quarters are side by side. And then after that, we then have the bathroom, the mess hall, and then we keep going through down further. Then we have things like sleeping quarters, cargo bay, engineering room, briefing room, blah, blah, blah. Interesting thing is that they came into the ship and they came in by the escape pods, but they came in through the cockpit. So was there something?
They came in through the front turret, the main ship turret.
Right. Okay, gotcha. They didn't go into through the captain's seat.
No.
Right. Gotcha. So look, at the end of the day, guys, obviously we pretty much got to see the first sort of half-ish, 1/3 maybe just over 1/3, maybe almost less than half of the first of the B deck, of the mid deck. So like I say, I don't think they're particularly worried too much about, like, how it's going to go in game. Look, I really do think that they are just waiting for Squadron 42. But I also think with everything that's happening over the past few years, with obviously people doing stuff like this, with the guy that went through and imported the asset into Blender or CryEngine or whatever it was, and did a full walkthrough, by the way. I imagine that CIG is realizing that this is pretty much an uphill battle.
CIG still believes that the Idris holds some kind of major Squadron 42 spoiler, and if they were to release the ship's interior, that would ruin the whole game, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know if they've actually said it per se like that, but they think that and I get it. What they want is they want the wow factor, right? They want people to walk in to the ship and go, oh my god, look at this ship, which is exactly what we did when we walked into it. But the only difference is that we did it before Squadron 42. So yeah. I get their point, that they literally are right when they want that sort of like, oh wow, look at this looks amazing, and it's going to be like it's like the look at this, so what about this, that song that they go through and they sing. I forget what movie it is from, but yeah, they basically, it's like we're going to be like kids in the candy store looking at everything, right? We're going to be looking at all the panels, we're going to be opening up all the closets and all the, and looking at all the crazy stuff. The only difference is that this is a slow drip where where obviously when the Idris comes in at Squadron 42, it's going to be all at once. But I will say that also in the defense of the people that leak stuff like this does a lot for hype. So, Star Citizen might sit there and say, oh no, we're not leasing it to Fort Squadron 42. But they also know that people are going to go through and do this sort of stuff. And they're going to go through and leak this sort of stuff. And it's going to do a lot for hype when it comes to the game. So, yeah. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Right, so you had a very important question. Besides Squadron 42, what else is needed for the Idris to come into game? Right? And you're like, right, what's still needed for the Idris save for Squadron 42? Player ATC, refuel, rearm, resource management, ship-to-ship docking, AI crew members. The AI crew members, we'll start with that because that's the A. To be honest, we have AI already in the stations, and while, yes, some of them are still standing on chairs, the most of them are getting around, especially if you get in a good server that has like a really good frame rate, server FPS. Your crew, the crew on the space stations are going about their normal life. Now, obviously, things like the janitor, a mop and bucket, which we keep hearing about them working on, stuff like that. There's actually a good reason for the janitor. But yeah, stuff like that obviously needs to be done. So while the crew can walk around, the crew can obviously man turrets. We've seen that already. While that is in the game, it's the basic stuff. It's the AI eating food. It's the AI putting, trays in the bins. It's AI, playing on their Moby Glass in bed and stuff like that. It's the boring stuff, which they have been working on. We see this in the Squadron 42 monthly reports. So all that stuff has already been incorporated and added and stuff like that. And the way that the AI works, right, is that you start with the basic things. Walking, sitting, stuff like that. Talking, stuff like that. And then you can go through and you can expand on it. It's like a tree, right? And then, you say, well, okay, you can walk, but now you need to be able to stop. You need to be able to turn. You need to be able to pick up things, and you just keep adding more and more assumptions, which is why they call it assumption AI. And once you get to that, then you get to the point where the AI will actually start doing stuff on its own. The main reason the AI stand on the couch, according to CIG, is because of server FPS. I don't know if that's necessarily true. My thinking is that that's probably some of the cases, but the bigger point is that it's also probably sometimes it's also things like, for example, the AI not knowing what to do because they might spawn in, at the food hall eating and they don't know how to eat yet. So it also could be stuff like that as well. What else is there? All right, so ship-to-ship docking. I do think we actually do have a portion of this already, if not the whole thing. It'll be the same principle that's used for example, station docking. We also have it with ship-to-ship docking when it comes to like the Merlin and the stub crafts and stuff like that for the Constellation. So ship-to-ship docking is basically in. What you're talking about is landing pads, which is a little bit different than ship-to-ship docking. But we already have that as a station. But there is sometimes a difference between moving landing pads and stationary landing pads like a station. So I'm not sure if they've got the moving landing pads in. That is also needed for the Kraken and the Liberator and stuff like that. Or if they've just got the stationary ones, for example, the station. Resource management is obviously definitely needed for the Idris. And we do see points of that already. Like, for example, when they go in and they have the panels on the walls, that is obviously resource management. Also, when they go in and they have like these airlocks and stuff like that, you notice there are large panels on the walls. That sort of stuff is all used for like resource management and stuff like that. And even in that room where they went through and they had the airlock above them, obviously, you know, that is obviously going to be needed for, like, for example, like gravity and stuff, where you're going to be able to turn gravity on and off. So that's also resource management and stuff like that as well. So resource management is definitely needed. Refuel, repair, rearm is also going to be needed for snubcrafts, and for fighters that are on landing pads. Now, we do have a variation of this already with obviously station rearm and refuel and repair, but there is a difference between doing that for a station and doing that for a ship. They can always, you know, like function the resources at a station, right? They can always turn around and say, well, yeah, you know, hey, it's got unlimited fuel, it just pulls fuel out of the ether. And eventually in the future they're going to change that, where you're going to have to be able to like deliver fuel to the stations and stuff like that. But obviously when it comes to the Idris, they can't fake it. It actually needs to pull it out of its resource containers that are on the ship, and this is why we don't have refuel, repair, rearm when it comes to the 890 jump. The reason is because there's a big difference between it just saying, yeah, look, this is a station, this has unlimited amounts of fuel, it can repair, refuel, rearm as much as it wants, or using a ship like the 890 or the Idris and saying this is a ship with limited resources. It might have, you know, 50,000 litres of fuel in its tanks, but you need to start subtracting some of that to when it comes to refueling ships and stuff. So, like I say, there's a big difference between those two, and that's why I don't think we have refuel, rearm, or repair on the 890 jump. Just because, and they've even alluded to this in the past, it's just because of the fact they just don't simply have that mechanic in the game just yet. Well, at least they didn't when they were talking about it like a year, 2 years ago. And player ATC, that is obviously going to be needed to a certain point if you want, obviously, like the full Idris experience. You can always just fake it for the moment and just have it so that, you know, like it just goes through and automatically assigns a landing pad like what's at the space stations. So they could always use that as a base. And just simply make it so that the Idris obviously only has, you know, like 3 or 4 landing pads and stuff like that. As for anything else that's missing, not really. You pretty much nailed it with those sort of missing things, to be honest. Like I say, obviously this is just with our knowledge of what they've got in. They could have some of this already in there, and we just don't know about it. But at the moment, that's generally what we're thinking is missing to allow them to incorporate the Idris into the game. Oh, and also, you know, having reflections in the mirrors would be freaking helpful too.
Yeah, that could help.
It's not needed, but it could be nice. But yeah, the biggest things I would say are actually the AI, with obviously like them doing like mediocre tasks like cleaning, mopping, you know, like janitors, like, you know, like eating food, putting food containers away, stuff like that. I would say also like anything to do with the fighters and the landing crafts. So like the AI control towers or the landing pads or the refuel rearm are obviously pretty much the important things that we're currently missing at the moment. Resource management, yes. But, you know, like I say, we know they're working on that already. And ship-to-ship docking, well, to be honest, if you're talking about docking as in, like, for example, like snubcrafts and stuff, yes, we don't have that at the moment. We have, like, a tier 1 version of it, which is just like snubcrafts, but we don't have anything where you can sort of, like, call in an ATC and land on a landing pad that I know of. like I said, unless they've been working on that in the past, yeah, we generally don't know. All right, anything else, Ferrets? Anything else we need to discuss besides Idris? Besides give Idris?
Give Idris.
It looks good, man. Looks really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, as for size, I don't think it's a case of like server FPS, because like here you can pretty much see the Idris. Look, it's about probably twice as big as the 890, maybe, or maybe an extra, half as big as the 890. So I don't think it's a case of like them going through and waiting for performance. I think it's, to be honest, it's just the general fact is that they're waiting for like resource management. There's not much point going through and faking all these rooms and putting all these rooms in, and then having to go back later and go through and to reincorporate it all with resource management. We've seen this with like components and stuff, right? While it's amazing that we can go through and we can rip components out of ships, to be honest, there's a lot of ships that don't have it. In fact, the only ships that I've seen that really do have it is the MSR, the Vulture, anything that's been the past year or 2 years. And even those components, it's only really coolers that you can take out. Coolers, oxygen scrubbers, stuff like that. I'm actually going to go through and make a video where I bring out every ship and I actually see if the resource management components are in those ships and if you can extract them or not. And we'll be able to make a list of what you'll be able to take out and what you can't take out, and we might put it up online. But hey, apart from that, Ferrets, anything else we want to add before we wrap this up?
No.
Alright guys, apart from that, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Is there anything we've missed? But yeah, as for the video itself, obviously please do go give these guys a follow. It's Jam TV, and obviously they've done an amazing view. But as for that, guys, obviously, yeah, as for the Idris, I'd say that's the major stuff that we're waiting on. Guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. If the video's been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next monetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy. You want to say bye, friends?
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.